I have some students who have been learning how to sew on sewing machines that we purchased with grant money. It was an Education Edge grant. I applied for the grant and I just answered the questions explaining what I would do with the grant money and how it would benefit the students, how it aligns to the district's strategic goals. It was actually pretty easy. The grant provided $1,500 that I spent on 5 sewing machines, and I purchased all of the notions and the other supplies that the students will need, like the fabric scissors and the seam rippers and the cutting mats and the rotary cutters, the pins, thread, fabric, anything, and even the storage containers, notebooks for them to journal as we're going. So pretty much anything I needed to get this going. I'd like to expand this in the future, but for now this is with my gifted students because I've tied it to more of teaching a growth mindset and exposing them to opportunities where it's inevitable they're going to make a mistake. A lot of gifted students learn things quickly and easily, and they don't really hit that frustration point necessarily in school until sometimes high school, college, or even the real world. And then if they're not equipped to handle that whole process of failure and making mistakes, sometimes they just shut down, they don't reach their potential, they question and doubt themselves. I learned that that would be helpful for the students to have that experience where it's gonna happen, you're gonna fail, you're gonna need a seam ripper, you're gonna mess things up. It's not gonna turn out the way you envisioned, but it's very easy to overcome and to just try again. And with it not necessarily being attached to a grade and the way they view like ELA, math, social studies, then I think it takes a little of the academic pressure off. That way they're not worried, oh, if I mess up, does that mean I got a bad grade today? So I started off by just taking a lot of time to make sure they felt comfortable with the machine itself and threading the machine, and that way they could feel less intimidation by just how it works, and then they could troubleshoot for themselves if things went wrong. And then the first project, they made a mask that they got to take home and wear here at school. A teacher here in the building is in a quilting group with her mom, and they have fabric that's been donated to them. And she offered some to us that's already been cut into squares. But instead of making quilts, they use that to make like patchwork pillows. This group especially, they just have the imagination and like the drive to just try things. And then now we're making holiday masks to sell to the staff at the school so that we can have more money to then buy fabric once the grant money is gone. On days when we don't sew, they complain or they'll ask to come in during recess sometimes to finish things up. I can tell through at least their actions that they're enjoying it, even though they don't specifically say that. I have more males in my classes currently than I do female, and it's been equal, the response of who's enjoyed it, who has thrived, who has succeeded. It's been interesting to see how they've just put aside any gender bias that some people might have, and they just jump in. This group's kind of exceeded my expectations just with how quickly they learned and how much motivation they had. So I kind of want to let them take the lead and see how far we can go with this. And they'll also be my students next year when they're here in 8th grade. So that 7th grade group in particular, I'm kind of curious to see how far we can take that. As far as just like long-term here at Horace Mann, I would like to see other students be able to participate either through like a recess sewing group or after school club, so that the opportunity is given to other students also.